The galaxy had been peaceful for 3,000 years. 47 different species lived together under the Galactic Council. They solved their problems with words and trade agreements, not weapons. War was something they read about in old history files. The Council had discovered Earth 50 years ago. Human radio signals had reached their deep space monitors. What they found made them nervous. Earth was a Class 12 death world, the highest danger rating they had ever given. The gravity was crushing. The weather was violent. Diseases were everywhere. And the humans who lived there were the most dangerous of all. The Council watched humanity from far away. They saw endless wars. They saw humans fighting each other over land, resources, and ideas. They saw humans survive things that would kill any other species. The Council decided humanity was not ready. They put Earth in quarantine and told themselves to check back in a few hundred years. Ambassador Tolvarin stood in the Council chamber, his forearms shaking. He was a Varan, an insect-like species known for being peaceful and logical. But today logic had failed him. 3 colonies are gone, he said, his voice breaking. 2 million of my people are dead. The Krynath swarm is moving through the outer rim and we cannot stop them. The Council chamber fell silent. The Krynath had come from beyond their galaxy, creatures of nightmare made real. They were biological ships that ate entire worlds. The Council's peacekeeping fleets had tried to fight them. It had been a massacre. We must evacuate the remaining colonies, said Commander Zelnoth, a being of pure energy that glowed blue in the chamber. Pull back our forces and establish a defensive line. That will take weeks, Tolvarin said. The Krynath will not wait. They will kill millions more. What choice do we have? Another council member asked. Our ships are not built for this kind of war. Our crews do not know how to fight like this. Tolvarin's compound eyes looked around the chamber. He knew what he was about to suggest would cause an argument. But his people were dying. There is one species that knows war, he said quietly. One species that has fought for survival every day of their existence. The chamber erupted in protest. The humans? They are primitives. They are quarantined for a reason. They would probably attack us. Tolvarin raised his voice over the noise. They are survivors. Look at their world. Look at what they have overcome. We need someone who understands what we are facing. We need warriors, not peacekeepers. The debate lasted for hours. Finally, they voted. It was close, but the decision was made. They would contact Earth. The message was prepared carefully. They would invite humanity to join the Galactic Council. They would ask for humanitarian aid and diplomatic support. They did not mention that they really needed soldiers. They hoped humans would send negotiators and advisors. The message traveled through space at faster than light speed, reaching Earth's United Nations headquarters in Geneva. When the message arrived, every world leader was called to an emergency session. The Secretary General played the message for everyone. People of Earth, the translated message began. We are the Galactic Council. We have watched your world for many years. We now invite you to join us among the stars. We also face a grave threat and request your assistance. The Chamber of World Leaders exploded with questions. First contact, alien life, an invitation to the stars. And they needed help. Admiral Helena Cross sat in the military observer section. She was the fleet admiral of the newly formed Terran Defense Navy. For the past 20 years, humanity had been building warships in secret, just in case first contact was not friendly. She listened to the politicians debate what to do. Send diplomats, send scientists, send ambassadors. Everyone wanted to send talkers. Finally, she stood up. They are under attack, Cross said, her voice cutting through the noise. They would not break quarantine unless they were desperate. They need help now, not in 6 months after we have diplomatic meetings. What are you suggesting, Admiral? The Secretary General asked. Send the fleet, Cross said. Send people who can assess the threat and respond. We can bring diplomats later. Right now they need defenders. There was more debate, but in the end they agreed. Humanity's first mission into deep space would be military. 20 warships prepared to launch from Earth's orbit. The TDN Valiant, the TDN Indomitable, the TDN Zeus, and 17 others. Each ship was heavily armed and armored. Each crew was trained for combat. Humanity was not taking chances. Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of the Valiant, looking at Earth one last time before they jumped to faster than light speed. All ships? Report ready status, she commanded. One by one, the ships confirmed they were ready. Set course for Council Station Omega, Cross said. Engage FTL drives. Let's go meet our neighbors. The fleet vanished in flashes of light, leaving Earth behind. At Council Station Omega, Ambassador Tolvarin waited nervously. He had checked the arrival time 20 times. The human fleet should arrive in moments. What if they do not come? Another ambassador asked. They will come, Tolvarin said. I studied their history. When humans make a promise, they keep it. When someone calls for help, they answer. I hope you are right, the ambassador said. I hope we have not made a terrible mistake. Alarms blared across the station. 20 ships had just dropped out of FTL speed, but they had not appeared at the normal arrival zone. They had appeared in combat formation, surrounding the entire station. Tolvarin's heart sank. Had the humans come to invade? Then a communication channel opened. A human female appeared on the screen, wearing a dark military uniform. Her face was hard and serious. This is Fleet Admiral Helena Cross of the Terran Defense Navy, she said. We received your distress call. Where is the enemy? Not greetings, not, we come in peace. Just straight to business. Tolvarin realized something important. The Galactic Council had asked for help. What they got was something they had not had in 3,000 years. Warriors. Council Station Omega was the largest diplomatic station in the galaxy. It had gardens from 100 worlds. It had art galleries and meditation chambers. It was built for peace. The human fleet surrounding it looked like something from a nightmare. Ambassador Tolvarin watched the human ships on the monitors. They were dark gray, covered in armor plating. Weapons jutted out from every angle. These were not exploration ships. These were warships, pure and simple. Prepare the greeting ceremony, Commander Zelnoth said nervously. We must welcome them properly. The docking bay was decorated with flowers and lights. A choir of melodian singers practiced their welcome song. Diplomats from 20 species waited in formal robes. The human shuttle landed. The door opened. Admiral Helena Cross stepped out, followed by 20 humans in combat armor. They carried weapons. Their eyes scanned the docking bay like they expected an attack at any moment. The choir began their welcome song. Stop, Cross said, raising her hand. The choir fell silent, confused. Where is the enemy? What is the current tactical situation? How many hostiles? What are their capabilities? The gathered diplomats looked at each other in shock. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Tolvarin stepped forward. Admiral Cross, welcome to Council Station Omega. We are grateful you came. Perhaps we could begin with a formal greeting ceremony and then— Ambassador, Cross interrupted. My crew just traveled 15 light years in 3 days because you sent a distress call. We did not come here for ceremonies. We came here to help, so please brief me on the enemy. Tolvarin's mandibles clicked in what humans would learn was a Varan smile. He liked this human already. Follow me to the command center, he said. The command center was filled with holographic displays showing star maps and battle reports. Commander Zelnoth brought up footage of the Krynath attacks. The humans watched in silence as the videos played. Organic ships that looked like diseased organs. Acid weapons dissolving hull plating. Boarding parties of insect-like creatures tearing through crew members. 3 colonies destroyed, Zelnoth explained. Over 2 million casualties. Our fleets engaged them twice. We lost 60 ships and barely slowed them down. Admiral Cross studied the footage carefully. Play that last part again, she said. The video showed council ships firing energy beams at the Krynath. The beams scattered across the organic hull, doing little damage. Your weapons are not effective against biological armor, Cross observed. Energy disperses. You need kinetic impact or explosive force. We do not use such primitive weapons, Zelnoth said, sounding slightly offended. Primitive? Major Chen, the fleet's tactical officer, spoke up. A railgun firing a depleted uranium round at 30 kilometers per second is not primitive. It is physics. Cross pulled up a list on her data pad. We need to requisition supplies from your station. Uranium, tungsten, chemical propellants, and deuterium. Zelnoth looked at the list and his energy form flickered in distress. Admiral, some of these materials are banned under the Council Peace Accords. We have not manufactured weapons-grade materials in over 1,000 years. Then it is a good thing we brought our own, Cross said. But we will need more for an extended campaign. Campaign? Another council member asked. We were hoping you could help us establish communication with the Krynath. Perhaps negotiate a peaceful solution. The humans all turned to look at the council member. Captain Sarah Chen, the fleet's xenobiologist, spoke first. Sir, I have analyzed the footage of Krynath behavior. They show no signs of higher reasoning or communication. They operate on hive instinct. They are not invading. They are feeding. You cannot negotiate with a locust swarm. Admiral Cross brought up a tactical map. The Krynath have established a pattern. They hit a colony, strip it of all organic material, then move to the next. They are working their way toward the core worlds. If we do not stop them now, millions more will die. What do you suggest? Tolvarn asked. Cross pointed to a system on the map. Our scans detected increased Krynath activity here. This is likely their staging ground. We should hit them there, destroy their forward base, and cut off their supply line. The council members gasped. You want to attack them? Zelnoth asked. We do not start wars. We end them through diplomacy. Commander, they already started the war, Cross said firmly. When they killed 2 million civilians, they made their choice. Now we make ours. Do we let them continue killing, or do we stop them? The room fell silent. These were concepts the council had not dealt with in millennia. They had forgotten what it meant to fight for survival. Tolvarn stepped forward. I support the Admiral's plan, he said. We asked humanity for help. Now we must trust their expertise. This is madness, another ambassador protested. They have been in space for barely a century and they want to teach us warfare. No, Admiral Cross said quietly. We do not want to teach you anything. We want to save lives. That is why we came. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a compromise was reached. The human fleet would lead an offensive operation. Council ships would provide support, shields, and sensors. Together, they would attack the Krynath staging ground. Operation Spearhead was born. As the briefing ended, Tolvarn approached Admiral Cross privately. Admiral, may I ask you a question? Of course, Ambassador. Why did you bring only military ships? Did you not think to send diplomats or scientists first? Cross looked at the star map showing the Krynath advance. Ambassador, you sent a distress call. You said you were under attack. Where I come from, when someone calls for help, you do not send people to talk about helping. You send people who can actually help. We brought our military because that is what you needed. You truly believe you can stop them? Tolvarn asked. I believe we will stop them, Cross corrected, because the alternative is unacceptable. Humanity learned a long time ago that some threats cannot be reasoned with. They can only be defeated. It is not the life we wanted, Ambassador, but it is the life our world gave us. Tolvarn watched the Admiral walk away. The Council had spent 3,000 years building a civilization based on peace and understanding. They had forgotten that peace sometimes needed defenders. They had called Earth hoping for diplomats. Instead, they got exactly what they needed. They got warriors who still remembered how to fight. As the combined fleet prepared to launch, Council crews worked alongside human crews. The cultural differences were stark. Council members meditated before missions. Humans checked their weapons. Council ships had gardens and art. Human ships had armories and medical bays designed for combat casualties. But slowly, they began to learn from each other. And as the fleet jumped to faster than light speed toward the Krynath staging ground, both species understood one truth. The galaxy was about to change forever. The combined fleet dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of the Kepler system. Immediately, every sensor lit up with contacts. I count 212 Krynath bioships, reported Lieutenant Vasquez from the sensor station. They are surrounding Kepler Station. The station's shields are failing. Admiral Cross studied the tactical display. 60,000 civilians were trapped on that station. The Krynath were slowly tearing it apart. Council fleet maintained defensive formation. Commander Zelnoth ordered over the communication channel. We will advance slowly and provide shield support to the station. Cross opened a channel to her fleet. All human ships break formation. Attack pattern Delta 7. Engage at will. Show them what Earth sends to a fight. The human ships scattered from the neat formation, accelerating toward the Krynath swarm at maximum speed. Admiral, Zelnoth's voice was alarmed. You are breaking formation. You will be surrounded. That is the idea, Commander, Cross replied. Watch and learn. The TDN Valiant led the charge. Its railguns opened fire, sending tungsten rounds downrange at incredible speeds. The projectiles punched through Krynath bioarmor like it was paper. 3 bioships exploded before the Krynath even realized they were under attack. The other human ships followed suit. Missiles streaked through space. Railgun rounds created deadly crossfire patterns. The Krynath swarm, used to opponents who fired gentle energy beams, suddenly faced weapons that destroyed everything they touched. "Target those larger ships," Major Chen ordered from the tactical station. "They look like command nodes." Nuclear-tipped torpedoes launched from the TDN Zeus. The Krynath tried to intercept them with smaller bioships, but the torpedoes had point defense systems. They shot down the interceptors and slammed into their targets. 3 nuclear explosions lit up space. The Council crews watching from their ships had never seen weapons like this. They had banned nuclear technology 2,000 years ago as too dangerous. On Council ship Harmony, a young officer named Kelvas watched in horror and fascination. "They are not just fighting," she whispered. "They are hunting." The Krynath swarm, confused by the aggressive tactics, changed strategy. Dozens of bioships converged on the TDN Indomitable, trying to overwhelm it with numbers. "Indomitable here," Captain Rodriguez reported calmly. "We have 40 hostiles closing fast. Permission to engage in close quarters." "Granted," Admiral Cross said. "Make it memorable." The Indomitable's point defense guns opened up. Streams of high-velocity rounds created a deadly sphere around the ship. Krynath bioships that got too close were shredded, but some got through. 3 bioships latched onto the Indomitable's hull. Acid began eating through the armor. "Boarders detected on decks 4, 7, and 9, the computer announced. On deck 7, Sergeant Marcus Hayes and his Marine squad waited in the corridor. They wore powered armor that made them look like metal giants. Each carried weapons the Council had never imagined. "Here they come," Hayes said. "Remember your training. Controlled bursts. Watch your corners. And do not let them touch you." The bulkhead door melted as Krynath acid ate through it. Insect-like creatures the size of wolves poured through the opening. They had too many legs, dripping mandibles, and black eyes that reflected no light. "Contact front," Hayes shouted. "Light them up." The Marines opened fire. The sound of gunfire echoed through the corridor. The Krynath had never encountered resistance like this. They were used to victims who ran. These humans advanced while shooting. Hayes pulled out a flamethrower. "This is for the colonists, you bugs," he said, bathing the corridor in fire. The Krynath retreated, screeching in pain. They had never met prey that fought back with such ferocity. Meanwhile, in space, human fighter craft launched from the carriers. The Council had stopped using manned fighters centuries ago, relying on drones. But humans still put pilots in the cockpit. Lieutenant Reaper Johnson dove his fighter through a cluster of Krynath bioships. His call sign was earned in training, but today he would prove it in battle. "Reaper to all fighters," he called. "Break into pairs. Use your speed. They are fast, but we are faster." The human fighters danced through space, dodging acid sprays and bioprojectiles. They fired missiles at close range, destroying bioships before peeling away. On the flagship, Admiral Cross watched the battle unfold. The Krynath were adapting, learning from each engagement. She needed to end this quickly. "Major Chen, have you identified the Queen ship?" "Yes, Admiral. It is the large one at the center of the formation. It is coordinating the others." "Then we cut off the head," Cross said. She opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships concentrate fire on the Queen ship. I want it destroyed." Every human ship turned toward the massive bioship at the center of the Krynath formation. It was 3 times larger than any other, covered in thick armor plates. The TDN Valiant led the assault. Railguns hammered the Queen ship's armor. Missiles exploded across its surface, but it was heavily protected. "Admiral, conventional weapons are not enough," Chen reported. "That armor is too thick." Cross made a decision. "Indomitable Zeus provide covering fire. Valiant is going in close. Prepare boarding teams." "Admiral, you cannot be serious," Zelnoth protested over the communication channel. "That is suicide." "No, Commander. That is how humans fight," Cross replied. "Sergeant Hayes, are your Marines ready?" "Born ready, Admiral," Hayes responded. "Just get us close enough." The Valiant accelerated directly at the Queen ship, taking hits from dozens of bioships. Its armor held barely. When it was close enough, magnetic grapples fired, locking onto the Queen ship's hull. "Breaching pods away," the weapons officer announced. 4 pods shot from the Valiant, slamming into the Queen ship. Explosive charges blew open holes in the bioarmor. Marines poured through. Inside the Queen ship was a nightmare. Organic corridors pulsed with alien life. The air was toxic. The Marines' armor sealed tight as they advanced. "Move fast," Hayes ordered. "Find the nerve center. Plant the charges. Get out. They fought through waves of Krinath defenders. The close-quarters combat was brutal, but the Marines had trained for this. Every human soldier knew that sometimes you had to get close to your enemy to defeat them. They found the nerve center, a massive chamber filled with bioorganic computing systems. Hayes planted plasma charges on every support structure. Charges set. 30 seconds. Everyone out now. The Marines ran. Behind them, the Queen ship began to shudder. The charges detonated, destroying the nerve center. In space, every Council crew member watched as the massive Queen ship broke apart from the inside. Without its coordination, the Krinath swarm fell into chaos. All ships finished them. Admiral Cross ordered. The battle that followed was one-sided. Without leadership, the Krinath could not coordinate their attacks. Human ships systematically destroyed or drove off every bioship. When it was over, Kepler Station was saved. 60,000 civilians were alive because of what the humans had done. But the cost was heavy. The Indomitable was badly damaged. 2 escort ships had been destroyed. 143 humans were dead. 400 more were wounded. In the Council ships, crew members did not understand. They had won a great victory. Why did the humans look so sad? Ambassador Tolvarin understood. He watched as the human fleet gathered its dead, preparing them for military funerals. They fight not because they enjoy it, he explained to a young Council officer. They fight because they must. And every death weighs on them. That is why they are so dangerous. They know the true cost of war. Admiral Cross stood in the Valiant's cargo bay looking at the rows of flag-draped bodies. She had written letters to every family. She had memorized every name. We won today, she said to her assembled crew, but we paid in blood. Do not forget that. Do not forget what we lost. And do not forget why we fight. We fight so others do not have to. We fight so civilians can live in peace. We fight because someone has to. The crew saluted their fallen comrades. In the Council Command Center, Commander Zelnoth replayed the battle footage. He had thought he understood warfare from history texts. Now he realized the Council had forgotten something important. Warriors were not just people who knew how to fight. They were people who were willing to die to protect others, and humanity had just reminded the galaxy what that meant. The interrogation room was cold and sterile. Captain Sarah Chen stood before a containment field holding a captured Krinath specimen. It was smaller than the warriors, with a more developed head structure. Can you understand me? Chen asked through the translator device. The creature's mandibles clicked. After a moment, words formed in the translator. Understand. Yes. The breakthrough sent shockwaves through both fleets. The Krinath could communicate. They were not mindless beasts. Why did you attack the colonies? Chen asked. Hunger. Need. Our galaxy dying. Stars going cold. We flee or we die. Chen felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room temperature. You are refugees? Refugees, the Krinath repeated, learning the new word. Yes, but galaxy says no room. So we take room. We survive. Admiral Cross reviewed the interrogation footage with Ambassador Tolvarin and Commander Zelnoth. They are running from extinction, Zelnoth said softly. Perhaps we can negotiate. Find them a world. Establish peace. They have killed millions, Tolvarin countered. They did not ask for help. They just started killing. Cross studied the star map showing Krinath movements. This was just a scouting force. Their main hive is somewhere in the dark zone. If we do not stop them there, more will come. Millions more. The dark zone is uncharted space, Zelnoth protested. No sensors work properly there. Ships disappear. It is too dangerous. Then it is a good thing you have humans, Cross said. Danger is where we live. The strike force assembled. 12 human ships volunteered. Only 3 council ships agreed to join, including Tolvarin's ship, the Remembrance. You do not have to come, Ambassador, Cross told him. Yes, I do, Tolvarin replied. My people died because I was not there to help them. I will not make that mistake again. The journey into the dark zone was like traveling through a nightmare. Space itself seemed wrong here. Sensors gave false readings. Navigation was guesswork. Even communication between ships became difficult. On the council ships, crews struggled with fear and uncertainty. Their technology, so reliable everywhere else, failed them here. On the human ships, the crews adapted. They used old-fashioned navigation techniques. They relied on visual confirmation. They trusted their instincts. This reminds me of sailing Earth's oceans before GPS, Captain Rodriguez commented. Dead reckoning and star charts. My grandfather taught me this. A council officer named Kelvas was temporarily assigned to the Valiant to learn human tactics. She watched in amazement as the humans thrived in conditions that terrified her species. How do you stay so calm? She asked Lieutenant Vasquez. Earth is a dark zone, Vasquez replied with a shrug. Hurricanes that can flatten cities, earthquakes that split the ground, oceans that can swallow ships. We grew up learning to adapt or die. This is just another Tuesday for us. During the long journey, humans and council members worked together more closely. They shared meals. They shared stories. The cultural barriers began to break down. Tolvarin sat in the Valiant's cafeteria with Sergeant Hayes and several Marines. Tell me, Tolvarin asked, why do humans put themselves in danger like this? Your species could have stayed on Earth. You could have ignored our call. Hayes thought for a moment. Back on Earth there is an old saying. Evil triumphs when good people do nothing. We heard you calling for help. How could we ignore that? But you barely know us, Tolvarin said. We quarantined your world. We called you primitives. Maybe, Hayes admitted. But you were still calling for help. And when someone is drowning, you do not stop to ask if they are a good person. You just jump in and save them. Tolvarin understood then why humanity was so dangerous. Not because they loved violence, but because they could not stand by and watch others suffer. After 7 days of travel, the fleet found what they were looking for. The sensors, barely functioning in the dark zone, detected massive organic readings ahead. The Kreenath hive was the size of a moon. It was alive, pulsing with bioenergy. Organic structures grew from its surface like diseased coral, and surrounding it were thousands of bioships. That is not a staging ground, Major Chen said quietly. That is a breeding ground. They are making an army. Long-range scans revealed the full horror. The hive had multiple egg chambers, biofactories producing ship creatures, resource storage holding enough material to support an invasion force 10 times larger than what they had already faced. If they finish building that fleet, Admiral Cross said, the entire galaxy is doomed. The fleet command met to discuss options. The human officers presented their analysis. We can destroy it, Cross said. We have enough firepower, but we will need to get close. Very close. And they will defend it with everything they have, Commander Zelnoth added. This will not be like the battle at Kepler. This will be a war of annihilation. There is another problem, Captain Chen said. That hive contains millions of Kreenath. Many are civilians. If we destroy it, we are committing genocide. The word hung in the air. Genocide. The greatest crime in galactic law. Tolvarin spoke. They showed no mercy to my people. They dissolved 2 million civilians for biomass. Why should we show them mercy? Because, Chen replied, if we do not, we become like them. We become monsters. Admiral Cross stood. We give them one chance, one warning. We tell them to evacuate, to surrender. If they refuse, then we do what must be done. They will not surrender, Tolvarin said bitterly. Probably not, Cross agreed. But we have to try, because that is what separates us from them. We tried peace first. The message was transmitted on all frequencies. It was translated into every language the Kreenath specimen had taught them. This is Admiral Helena Cross of the Terran Defense Navy to the Kreenath hive. You have attacked and killed millions of innocent beings. We offer you one chance. Surrender. Accept relocation to an uninhabited world, or face destruction. You have 1 hour to decide. The response came in 30 minutes. The Kreenath Overmind's voice was like grinding metal and screaming insects. Soft shells. Weak flesh. You cannot stop the swarm. We are survival. We are hunger. We are eternal. Your worlds will feed us. Your bodies will become us. A video feed followed. It showed the council prisoners the Krynath had taken from previous battles. They were being dissolved alive in bioacid pools, their organic matter being processed into new bioships. The crew members watching the feed turned away in horror. Some vomited. Even the hardened Marines looked shaken. Admiral Cross watched the entire video. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands clenched into fists. "So be it," she said quietly. She opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, battle stations, load all weapons. This is not a rescue mission anymore. This is extermination. The Krynath made their choice, now we make ours." The human fleet began final preparations. Weapons were armed. Armor was checked. Marines loaded into boarding craft. In the chapel aboard the Valiant, crew members said prayers to their various gods. In the armory, soldiers checked their gear one last time. In the bridge, officers reviewed tactical plans. Sergeant Hayes stood with his squad, looking at their faces. Some were young, barely 20 years old. Some had families back home. All of them knew this might be their last mission. "Listen up," Hayes said. "What we are about to do is terrible. Taking lives, even enemy lives, is not something to celebrate. But those things in that hive will kill millions if we let them. So we do what humans have always done. We stand between the innocent and the monsters. We pay the price so others do not have to." He paused. "And if we do not all make it back, remember this, we died doing the right thing, and that matters." The squad nodded. They were ready. Across the fleet, every human prepared for battle. Not with joy, not with hatred, but with grim determination. Ambassador Tolveren watched from the Remembrance. He saw human ships moving into attack positions. He thought about what his people had lost, and he thought about what the humans were about to do. "They came to save us," he said to Kelvis, who stood beside him. "And now they will damn themselves to do it." "Damn themselves?" Kelvis asked. "They will carry the weight of what they are about to do for the rest of their lives," Tolveren explained. "They will see those deaths in their dreams. They will question if it was right. But they will do it anyway. Because someone has to." Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of the Valiant looking at the monstrous hive ahead. She thought about Earth, about humanity's long, bloody history, about all the times humans had to make terrible choices to survive. She thought about the oath she took when she became an officer, to protect humanity and its allies. "All ships," she said into the communication system. "Engage." The human fleet charged toward the hive, and the galaxy would never forget what happened next. The battle for the Krynath hive was the most violent engagement in galactic history. Thousands of bioships swarmed from the hive like angry hornets. The human fleet met them head-on. Nuclear fire lit up the dark zone. Railgun rounds tore through organic armor. Bioacid splashed against human shields. Ships on both sides exploded. The space around the hive became a graveyard. The TDN Zeus took a direct hit from a bioship's kamikaze attack. Its reactor went critical. The captain, knowing his ship was lost, aimed it directly at a cluster of biofactories on the hive's surface. "This is Zeus, actual," Captain Morrison said over the communication channel. "We are going down. Make it count. Earth remembers her children." The Zeus slammed into the hive at full speed. The explosion destroyed 3 biofactories and killed thousands of Krynath. Admiral Cross watched from the Valiant's bridge, her face like stone. "Mark Captain Morrison and all crew of the Zeus has fallen with honor," she said quietly. "Continue the attack." The assault continued. Human ships darted in and out, firing and retreating. The Council ships provided long-range shield support, protecting damaged human vessels. Tolveren, commanding the Remembrance, found himself fighting alongside the humans. His ship's energy shields absorbed hits meant for the TDN Indomitable. "Indomitable, you are clear," he reported. "Make your attack run." "Copy that, Remembrance," Captain Rodriguez replied. "We owe you one." The battle raged for hours. Slowly, the human fleet carved a path toward the hive's core. They identified the main nerve cluster, buried deep inside the structure. "That is where the Overmind is," Major Chen reported. "Destroy that and the entire hive dies." "How do we reach it?" Commander Zelnoth asked over the communication channel. "The armor is too thick for missiles." Admiral Cross made her decision. "We go in personally. Boarding teams will plant charges directly on the nerve cluster. Admiral, that is suicide, Selnoth protested. Commander, this entire mission has been suicide, Cross replied calmly. But we are still here. Valiant will make the approach. I will lead the boarding team personally. Admiral, you cannot, Major Chen objected. You need to command the fleet. The fleet can operate without me, Cross said. But this mission needs someone who will see it through. That is my job. She turned to her bridge crew. Major Chen, you have command. If I do not make it back, finish the mission. That is an order. Cross met Sergeant Hayes and his Marines in the boarding craft. They looked at their admiral in full combat armor, carrying a rifle like any other soldier. Marines, she said, today we end this. We go into that hive. We plant the charges, and we make sure the Krynath never threaten anyone again. Are you with me? Ura! The Marines shouted in unison. The Valiant fought its way to the hive's surface. Boarding craft launched, carrying Cross, Hayes, and 40 Marines. They punched through the organic hull and entered the nightmare within. The inside of the hive was a maze of pulsing tunnels and chambers. Biomatter dripped from walls. The air was toxic. The Marines advanced through the horror, fighting Krynath defenders every step. Stay together, Hayes ordered. Watch your sectors. Keep moving. They fought through waves of defenders. The close-quarters combat was brutal. Marines fell, but the advance continued. Every death made the survivors more determined. They reached the nerve cluster chamber. It was massive, filled with crystalline structures pulsing with bioelectrical energy. At the center was the Overmind itself, a being of pure neural tissue and alien intelligence. Soft shells, the Overmind's voice echoed in their helmets. You cannot win. We are many. You are few. Admiral Cross walked toward the center, carrying the charges. We do not need to be many, she said. We just need to be willing. She placed the first charge on a neural pillar. Hayes and his Marines placed the others around the chamber. You will die here, the Overmind said. Probably, Cross admitted. But you will die first, and that is what matters. The charges were set. 30 seconds to detonation. Cross activated her communication device. Major Chen, charges are armed. Get the fleet clear. Admiral, you have time to evacuate, Chen replied, her voice strained. Negative, Major. The Overmind is trying to override the charges. Someone needs to stay and make sure they detonate. There was a long silence. Understood, Admiral. It has been an honor. The honor was mine, Major. Take care of them. Cross out. She turned to her Marines. All of you go. That is an order. With respect, Admiral, Hayes said. We do not leave our people behind. Sergeant, you have families. You have lives to live. I am an old woman who has already lived hers. Now go. Let me do this one last thing. Hayes saluted. So did every Marine. Then reluctantly they ran for the exit. Cross stood alone in the chamber as the countdown ticked. The Overmind sent bioconstructs to attack her. She shot them down one after another. Her ammunition ran out. She drew her sidearm. That ran out too. She drew her combat knife. At 10 seconds she looked up at the crystal structure holding the Overmind. I came in peace, she said. You made me come in war. But humanity will remember this day, and we will make sure you are the last ones who ever force us to do this. The charges detonated. The nerve cluster exploded. Admiral Helena Cross died instantly, vaporized in the blast. But her mission was complete. The Overmind's death scream echoed across every Krynath communication channel. Without its control, the hive began to tear itself apart. Bioships stopped functioning. Defense systems failed. All ships fire at will. Major Chen ordered, tears streaming down her face. Finish it. For the Admiral. The human and council fleet unleashed everything they had. The hive, already dying from within, crumbled under the assault. It broke apart, killing the millions of Krynath inside. When it was over, the Dark Zone was silent. The Krynath threat was ended, but the victory was hollow. 4 human ships were destroyed. Over 2,000 humans were dead. And the fleet had lost its admiral. The journey home was somber. Humans and council members alike mourned. They had won, but the cost was staggering. When the fleet emerged from the Dark Zone, a massive reception awaited them. Ships from every council species had gathered. Stations lit up with celebrations. The Krynath were defeated. The galaxy was saved. But on the human ships there were no celebrations. There were only funerals. Major Sarah Chen, now promoted to Admiral, stood before the assembled fleet on Council Station Omega. The ceremony was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. "We came to the stars hoping to find friends," she said. "We found them. But we also found enemies. Enemies that forced us to remember what we are. We are humans. We are survivors. We are warriors when we must be, and peacemakers when we can be." She gestured to the rows of flag-draped coffins, human and council members who had died in the battle. These people paid the price for peace. They gave everything so that others could live. We will never forget them, and we will honor them by being the people they died to protect. People who stand against darkness. People who defend the weak. People who never give up. The Galactic Council voted unanimously. Humanity was welcomed as full members with no probation, no restrictions. More than that, they were named Protectorate Guardians, charged with defending the galaxy against threats like the Krynath. In the months that followed, everything changed. Human military academies opened, training council forces in combat tactics. Exchange programs brought aliens to Earth to learn survival skills. Human engineers worked with council scientists, combining aggressive human designs with elegant council technology. The first joint human council warship, named the Admiral Helena Cross, was launched 1 year after the battle. It was a symbol of the new galaxy, one that remembered peace required defenders. Ambassador Tolvarin became the permanent liaison between Earth and the Council. He often visited Earth, marveling at how such a dangerous world had produced people capable of such sacrifice. He stood at Arlington National Cemetery, looking at Admiral Cross's grave. A simple stone marker, like all the others. No special treatment for the woman who saved the galaxy. "Is this how humans honor their heroes?" he asked Chen, who had accompanied him. "We do not make heroes into gods," Chen replied. "We remember them as people. Flawed, scared, brave people who did what had to be done. The Admiral would not want a statue. She would want us to learn from what she did and make sure we never have to do it again." "But you will," Tolvarin said. "When the next threat comes, humans will be there." "Yes," Chen agreed. "Because that is who we are. We did not want to be warriors, Ambassador. We wanted to be explorers, scientists, artists, dreamers. But our world made us survivors. And when you called for help, we answered the only way we knew how." Years later, young species joining the Galactic Council learned about the Krynath War. They learned about the Deathworlders, who came from Earth. They learned about Admiral Cross and her sacrifice. But more importantly, they learned the lesson humanity taught the galaxy. Peace is precious, but sometimes peace needs warriors to protect it. Not warriors who love violence, but warriors who hate it so much they are willing to do anything to end it. Earth's children spread across the stars, always ready to help, always willing to sacrifice. They became explorers and scientists and artists, just like they had always dreamed. But they also remained guardians, watching the darkness, making sure no one else had to face it alone. The galaxy had expected diplomats. It got warriors. But in time it realized it had gotten something even better. It had gotten protectors who understood the cost of protection. It had gotten friends who would fight for those who could not fight for themselves. And in the end, that made all the difference.